Hello, I'm Rabbi Daniel Lappin. Thanks for being part of this show. And particularly, I appreciate those of you who send in questions to my website because I grow so much from reading your questions and researching them. Listen to this one. Somebody wrote in, I am an event and fine art photographer. My business is taking pictures and capturing beauty. What one sentence would you say really describes my work? I am almost finished reading your book, Thou Shalt Prosper, the 10 Commandments for Making Money. And I think it's one of the best books in my library. Please help me define what, as a photographer, do I really do by taking images. I know there is a sentence that really goes to the heart of the matter, but just cannot seem to nail it on the head. I would love to hear from you. Mark. Mark, thank you very much indeed for your fine letter, and I want to thank you also for reading my book, Thou Shalt Prosper, the 10 Commandments for Making Money. It is a very important book, and it really captures God's plans for human economic success. Now, what you're asking for is essentially a mission statement. It's a very, very popular thing. Everybody tries to have a mission statement. But I think what I'm going to be able to do for you with the help of ancient Jewish wisdom is give you something much more valuable than a mission statement. By the time we're done here today, you'll be able to write your mission statement. You don't need me for that, because I'm going to give you the tools for understanding and seeing exactly how this works. You know, back in about 1914, Henry Ford was just starting up assembly lines for building the Model T Ford. And up till that point, the overwhelming majority of transportation in America was horses. And one of the jobs people had was making whips, you know, buggy whips and wagon wheels and things like that, things having to do with wagon transportation. Now, anybody in Detroit who saw himself as a buggy whip maker or saw himself as a wagon wheel maker was pretty much out of luck, because any day now, cars were going to start rolling off the assembly line. Nobody needed wagon wheels. Nobody was going to need buggy whips. And that guy was out of luck. But a whole lot of people who were making wagon wheels and buggy whips saw themselves as transportation specialists. They saw themselves as people who helped God's other children fulfill their deep human need to travel and move. You see, animals usually don't move very far. Contrary to popular belief, whales travel great distances, but on the fields of Africa, lions and baboons and primates, they pretty much stay where they are. Only human beings have this deep-seated need to see the world, to travel, and he who saw himself as a travel specialist could transition in his mind easily from buggy whips to repairing carburetors or whatever it was. Look, here's the key thing. God put Adam in the Garden of Eden to work the garden, right? But that word, to work the garden, is exactly the same Hebrew word as is used when Moses said, God says, let my people go to Pharaoh, let my people go so that they may worship me in the desert. That Hebrew word for worship and serve and work, same thing. Isn't that amazing? 10 commandments, fourth commandment, 6 days of the week you must do all your work, right? As a fine arts photographer. And how about at the last chapter of the book of Joshua? As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. We will worship the Lord. In Hebrew, work and worship, exactly the same. Maybe that's one of the reasons we use the word customer service and also worship service. In other words, the important thing to understand here is that by doing your daily work, you are serving God by taking care of his other children. You got to start seeing it in those terms. And so that's why when I sit on a plane, I start talking to the person next to me. I never say, what do you do for a living? That's very selfish. I always say, how do you help other human beings? And sometimes I have to explain what I mean. Sometimes I say, what do you do for God's other children? And then I explain it, oh, you mean, okay, fine. Because you got to see it in those terms. So you must now ask yourself, you've got to ask yourself, Mark, what do you do for other people? You're not a photographer, you serve other people. Now, only human beings have these two needs. One is to keep memories alive, That's one of the great values of photographs. We look at pictures and it helps us remember times we had. And the other thing is to surround ourselves with beauty. No animals have this, only human beings. God created us with those two deep desires. You serve them both. You help people do memories. You help people surround themselves with beautiful images. I don't know exactly what it is, but you have to ask yourself, what do God's other children say when I satisfy them? When they say, hey, Mark did our pictures and what was he great about? Whatever it is, that is it. You've got to ask yourself, how can you serve other people's needs in these two areas of memory and beauty in a way that nobody else does nearly as well as you? And when you answer that, you will know your mission statement. I'd love to hear back from you once you've achieved that. I'm Rabbi Daniel Lappin, and I wish you good times in your finances, your family, your faith, and your friendships.